what am I doing? Somebody approached me, called me up and said, hey, would you like to go do a show like this? And I said, I guess I would. I just don't know who would be interested other than people that are fans of this great band that I'm lucky to be a part of called Hedley. So it occurred to me a lot of people would come out, or some people would come out because I'm in this band. And then what occurred to me is that that band's been going for almost 7 years, but I've been playing drums for over 20 years. So I thought that maybe a lot of people would like to hear how someone can go about getting themselves in a similar situation. As I think it's kind of desirable. I think a lot of people would like to be doing just this kind of thing, playing in live venues, making music for people, because it's very gratifying. So I thought I'd start off with telling you a bit about how I ended up getting here. And I'm so out of breath. God. Excuse me. So a bit about myself, I guess. How did I get here? So what happened one day was I'm driving down the street with my mom, and I heard this great Led Zeppelin song on the radio, and I thought, until this point I had listened to music. I enjoyed music for whatever it was. I listened to the words too, and I was fans of bands and things like that, but nothing really reached out to me and said, hey, maybe you should do this too. Until I heard this great song called Rock and Roll from Led Zeppelin. It has this really bombastic beginning at the beginning of the song, and I said, geez, I really want to learn how to do that, just that. And so I looked over at my mom as we're driving down the street, and I said, I think I need to play drums, Mom, and she rolled her eyes, thinking, well, at least you didn't pick violin. So right away, right off the bat, I enlisted in drum lessons, which is a bit different. I think most people who start, first of all, who plays any instrument? Okay, we got maybe a little more, yeah. The guy that works at the music store plays an instrument, what do you know? And he's happy. So it's a little over half the people are beginning to play an instrument. Some of you, anybody do it professionally yet? Make any money or just do it for your friends? Yeah, a couple of people do too. Well, what most people's story is say something like, my cousin, he played drums and he put them away in the garage and never touched them, and I was over there for Christmas dinner and I played drums and I was really digging it, and blah blah blah. Something like that. Or they got into high school and there's a cool drum set or a guitar or something and they picked it up, and I could all of a sudden play a song and I really liked it and I wanted to learn more. But mine wasn't that way at all. I had some appreciation for music, but I basically went right to drum lessons, which I think in the end worked really well for me, because it's always given me an appreciation for the finer points of the instrument, which a lot of people as music listeners don't ever really notice. And it's because you're kind of like it's kind of like a scientist, and they come up with this great invention called toothpaste. Now, none of us know the chemical compound of toothpaste, but all of us use it. I hope. Right? Got beautiful teeth. Uses toothpaste. But none of us need to know how to make toothpaste in order to do it. And so it's moments like this that I could explain some of the finer points of drumming, which we'll get into later, that make our songs, for instance, a little bit more enjoyable for everybody. And if I were to get into those technical things or try to do them too much while we're recording and whatnot, it would then become too boring, as if the scientist was telling you what's really happening in the toothpaste compound when you mix it with water and brush back. You know, you don't need to know all that, I just need to know that it works. So I walked into drum lessons with a piece of paper and a pencil. I'd never held drumsticks, and a $10 bill. My mom said, you might want to buy drumsticks when you're there. And she was right, so I walked in. I had my first lesson, which would be, I still remember, it was June 3rd in 1990. Something like that. The only reason I remember is because I shortly thereafter got a job to afford my first drum set, and I was too young to work, but I managed to convince the guy to pay me $5 an hour to flip burgers. So I got into that. So I took drum lessons for 2 years, and in that time I also got into all of the high school classes. So that would have been my summer between grade 10 and 11. And grade 11 had a great band class type of thing, so I got into band class and started learning even some of the more fine points, such as reading music. Now, a lot of drum music is just notation, it's just time. It's not actually, you know, A, B, C, D, any of the notes of the thing. But in some of the music that you learn in band class, you would learn the xylophone and timpani and things like that, things that you did have to know notation. So I got a good introductory